Okay, so we're gonna split this hive. It's gonna be really similar to doing this in two deeps, and I've just got two mediums on here. So this deep is pretty much empty, but imagine that you just got two deeps here and you're gonna do exactly the same thing. So I've got my new box here with some frames in it, and I'm gonna take those out because I need to make room for some new stuff. So what we want is we want in each of these boxes that we're going to split, each of these hives, we want eggs and larvae and brood and honey and pollen in all of them as much as possible. So, and what I like to do, some people say leave the queen here in the original colony. I like to take the queen with me because this one's going to be stronger at the beginning. There's some benefits to both ways. The one benefit is taking the queen away is that they think that they've swarmed. It's natural for the queen to go away with part of the bees. A downside is that the bees that are coming back here are older, and maybe they won't accept a new queen as readily. I don't know. That's the only downside. But I usually take the queen with me into the new hive. So what we're going to do is we're going to start pulling out some frames here. If you need a little smoke, you're welcome to smoke them just a little bit, but I try not to disturb them too much because I want the bees on the frames as much as possible. So I'm looking here. This is coming from the outside, and it's mostly pollen and honey. I'm looking here in the bottom. I see a few eggs actually in this area right here. See how the bees are there's not very many bees on this area. They're just ignoring those eggs because they can't really do anything with them. This is all pollen over here. So I'm going to go ahead and put this toward the outside, facing the eggs in. Just because that's going to be the outside of my brood chamber here. So actually I can take all of these frames out. So I'm putting my honey and pollen on the outside just like it was. This one's probably going to be all honey and pollen. Look at that, all honey. That's beautiful honey. This is capped honey. This is partly capped and uncapped. I'm going to put that right back where it was. Pulling this one out. Now, I'm looking for the queen as I go. If I find the queen, fantastic. If not, I'm not going to worry about it. So, here, this is all brood, except honey in the corners, of course. Drone, I'm not even sure if I'm going to be in here. I wish I had a camera, girl. These is drones because they're fatter. You can see how they stick out on there. And this is all worker brood in here, capped larvae, and then they've got honey in the corners typically. And no queen. She's probably not going to be on a frame with a bunch of capped brood anyway. Okay, so I'm looking here. I bet you this has got open larvae. Yep. It's got some little grubs in there, and I'm taking that and I'm putting it. I'm kind of working my way through. I've already looked at the other side, and it's pretty much the same. So I'm going to take half of this top box here, and then I'm going to get in and take half of this box down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is more capped brood. It's really awesome. Now, by taking these frames and rearranging everything, I am just upsetting their life. Their whole hive management, they have everything right where it needs to be. They're really excited. They've had time to grow slowly, put everything where it needs to be. Now I'm coming in and rearranging their whole house. Hold on just a second. Get another place to set a box. Okay. So I'm going to take this off now. I didn't see a queen, so she may be in that box. But now I've got this one. So imagine that you be getting into your second deep here, and I can now start splitting back and forth, but I know, pretty sure there's not a queen in here unless I just missed her. Again, I'm taking an outside frame, so because of that, I want to make sure it's probably going to go on the outside as well, because it's going to have honey and pollen in it. I see pollen and some eggs on the outside. And wow, she's got some eggs and open larvae on this side. So I'll show you a picture of how some of these frames are organized and what an egg might look like if you can see it. I'll insert that clip right here. Now, when you're looking for eggs, this is the pattern I want you to look for. The queen lays here first, and these are the oldest because they're kept. And if you look in here, you can see some white larvae in there. And as they go out, as they radiate out from this central area here, they get smaller and smaller and smaller until you get to eggs that are up here in the corner. Then of course they've got honey up here in the very corners. So they get the oldest in the center, and then she radiates up. She just goes back and forth and lays like this, and so she'll have the eggs up here in the corner. So you're looking for a frame with eggs on it. This is what you're looking for. Now if you look, and I kind of disturbed them, but there's bees on top of the cells with open larvae in them, and then as they go out, there's less and less bees, or there were when I picked the frame up, because they really don't care about the eggs. There's eggs in there, they don't do anything with them. In fact, they just kind of avoid that whole area with them in there. So sometimes you'll see a frame with older larvae here, and as it radiates up, you'll see more and more eggs, and you can just kind of tell because there's no bees on those. But if you look down inside the cell, which I'm not going to be able to see here with the camera, but you can see little eggs, teeny tiny little eggs down there. And I would zoom in, but I've got my gloves on, so anyway, that's what you're looking for. There's the larva that goes up. I don't know if you can see the eggs in there or not. Anyway. And we're back. This is gonna go second to the outside. I'm gonna orient it the same way it was, taking the outside frame here. This is gonna go on the very outside. Again, I'm putting frames into the box that I'm gonna take away, my new hive. Take another frame. That's got some drones scattered throughout. Must have just been some, I don't know, random cells of drones. I would think that's an indication of maybe a queen is starting to fail. Sometimes they'll just randomly lay drones, but there's too many other frames that look too good. They must have drawn those into drone cells last year. Oh, this is a really light frame. Okay, so see how most of the bees are down at the bottom? Well, I know there is open fruit there. On this side, they're just, see how they're just completely avoiding this area here, because this is all filled up with eggs. There's absolutely not one open larva cell. Well, I'll take that back. There's two of them. And the rest of them are filled with eggs. So they'll all hang out over here, but they just, I don't know, have no reason to go there. So if you're going to look, you know, here's brood, and then there's a space that everybody's avoiding. That's usually because it's filled with eggs. Putting that in the center. That way they can make their queen cells there. Okay. No queen, eggs and larvae. It helps to have the sun over your shoulder so you can look down inside the cells and highlight those. I've also got some reading glasses on because my contacts need to be adjusted. And this is the last frame that I'm going to put in here. Now if I really cared, and I've got some time, which I do, I might go ahead and go through. Now again, I'm not gonna reorder these. I'm gonna go through and just look for the queen. Scan, scan. If I find the queen, fantastic. I'll leave her in here. If I don't find the queen, then I may end up taking her with me, or I may end up leaving her behind. But at least I would know which hive is going to be the one with the queen. A lot of eggs there. And she probably won't be on that outside frame, but there's always a chance. Sometimes when you smoke her, you get her running. Well, that's heavy. She could be anywhere in the box. She could even be on the side of the inside of the box when she wants to get away. Okay, so she wasn't on those 5 frames, probably. It helps if I've got a 10-year-old with me. That's in the center. Brood. This is a good hive. This hive was going to make some honey for me this year, or they were going to build until about May, and then they were going to swarm. And it would have been split anyway. Now you want to be careful about tipping the frame too much, because the queen can drop off if you've got it tipped completely on its side like this. So I'd only tip it like that if you knew that she wasn't there, or at least tip it over the top of the frame, over the top of the hive, I'm sorry. No stinking queen yet. On Queenie, where are you? She could be, and you won't have this issue, she could be in that bottom box down there. But you won't have a bottom box when you're splitting your hive. I guess I should have thought of that. This is all honey because it came from the outside. Squeeze these together. Wedge. You know, sometimes there's wax on that outside of the box, and if I squeeze this in, it'll just scrape against that frame all the way down. So sometimes I'll put the outside frame in first, and then I'll drop in the one next to it, rather than take the time to scrape off all the extra comb that they built. Okay. So, okay, I'm back. Sorry, my phone overheated. Oh, I didn't get out of the sun again. Gosh dang it. Anyway, I'll work quick. All you missed was I brought an extra box over because I'm going to go ahead and divide I have a deep, so I have extra resources. You just have 2 boxes, I have 3, so I'm going to go ahead and split up this box also. And I'm going to look for the queen while I'm here, just because I didn't see her in the top. I see eggs down here, so she is laying all over the place. Stick. And I'm going to keep all the eggs and brood together. And has eggs. And frame. So we can do what we have. Put it on. With eggs. Is it on? Take it aside. Before, one more. I have to choose between getting one more than the other. Always favor the hive. Sorry. Always favor the hive. Nothing away. So if I have an option to give more brood, I'll give it to the one that I've taken away. So I'm going to go ahead and take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to take this one back to my other place. Okay, I'll put that back over on the other side with where my new hive is going to be, and I'm going to go ahead and insert this in the bottom. Oh, come on. Is that completely brand new frame? Everything. This is drawn. We're going to make it. These cells are drawn deeper than a brood cell would be. Any cells deep. And I'm going to draw that just a little bit. Insert these in here. If there was a lot of honey or maybe drawn out frames that didn't have any brood in it, I might alternate the drawn with my brand new frames, simply because it encouraged them to kind of go ahead and work both sides. But since there's brood, I like keeping the brood all together. Otherwise, they could get cold or abandoned. Now, something that I will do, there are some extra bees here on this box that came off while I was moving. I'm going to go ahead and dump these onto my new hive. Okay, look at my guy. Great. Where did I just make this up? Oops. This one actually goes on the other hive. This one I made for it. Okay. This goes back on here. Original location. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to take out a couple of frames, and I'm looking for frames with mostly eggs and larvae on it. And I'm going to go shake them off into the other hive just to give them a few more bees, making sure that I don't see the queen, or look for the queen anyway while I'm here. If I get the ones with frames with open larvae on them, then those are typically nurse bees that are working those frames, and they will stay with the hive. If they're field bees, they're going to be going out into the world. They've already been outside the hive. They already know this is home. They'll fly out of that hive. They'll come back to here. It happens. All right, so because I gave them room down below, I'm not going to add a super on at this time, just because I don't want to give them too much room. And I can take this box and put it back together. I won't need that just yet. So I split the resources between the two boxes. Left one of them here, took the other one away. If I ran into the queen, I would have put her over in the box, the hive over, not in the original location. But since I didn't run into her, I don't know where she's at. And it really doesn't matter, because wherever she's at, she'll just pick right back up and continue on her way. And the hive that she's not in will immediately realize there's not a queen and begin taking those young larvae that are 3 days or less and begin cultivating them into queen cells. And they don't move eggs, they don't move larvae. They just simply take a worker cell and modify it into an emergency type of cell. There may be a dozen of them in there. These aren't the best queens because the cells have to be modified, but they do in a pinch. What I'm going to do with the rest of my hives is I'm actually going to graft some 1-day-old larvae into queen cups, put them in. They'll be raised as queens, and then a day or so before they hatch out, we'll go and I'll split some more hives and I'll just drop those in the hives, my splits, and she'll come out and she'll be a brand new queen. And she'll pick up right there. It'll be about a month before the hive without the queen has a queen in there that's laying and really making a difference in the hive. She'll hatch out in 2 weeks, a little bit, probably 10 days. Because she's already 3 days into it, and then she'll go on a mating flight for about a week after that, and then she'll start laying. So it could be 3 to possibly 4 weeks depending on the weather, which is supposed to be nice. All right, hope this helps. Good luck.